The term self-realization is extensively utilized in Western philosophy, psychology, and spirituality. It is absolutely true for Indian religions, too. It may be regarded as the completion of the possibilities of the character or continence by a human being. Self-realization is a liberated awareness of the genuine self. It is either an eternal consciousness known as essence, or the absence of a perpetual self. The distinct technique by which every human being might understand his true self is known as self-realization. And what exactly does this true self imply? It signifies that the human soul, which is the true self that exists within everyone, has come to the finishing line of its cosmic life. People must first comprehend the interplay between the true human self, the soul, and the physical body.